Good morning, everybody, and welcome to part 2 of Dratnos' mod tutorial for RedPower 2 pre-release 5. Alright, so this tutorial is going to be mostly about Blutricity, which is an awesome part of the RedPower mod. RedPower, of course, the mod made by LRM, and I'm using it as part of the Technic Pack, which is a combination of mods. Right, so with Blutricity, the first thing you need is that in order to carry blue electric power, you need blue alloy wire. Blue alloy wire, pretty much like red alloy wire, you smelt it up in an alloy furnace. It can go on the side of blocks, it can go on the underneath of blocks, it can go anywhere on blocks. Links up very nicely, and it's a lot like the red alloy wire we showcased in last episode, or last tutorial, which is over there. And you can check that one out, it'll be part of this same playlist, so you can just go to the top right of the related videos section, and you should see a playlist link there. So that's a blue alloy wire, it's what carries your blue electric charge. You make it just with some blue alloy wire and some wool to insulate it. Eventually, that'll be rubber, though. Solar panels are created, and they are the most basic way of getting your blue electric power. So solar panels, whenever there's sunlight, they will be generating you solar panel power, and they can power things through blue electric wires, things like the blue electric furnace, which is basically a regular furnace, except better. You can see here it's fully charged in both the battery and the active charge area. And what happens is, you plonk your stuff in here, and it's basically a furnace, except twice as fast, and it runs off of blue electric power. You can see that there it's losing a little bit of charge, and the solar panels are now charging it back up a little bit. It's nice, super awesome. Now in here, we have some voltmeters, created with this recipe, and some blue electric, or some Blutricity batteries. So a voltmeter, the way that a voltmeter functions, is if you right-click on any active wire, it'll tell you both the voltage and the current running through that wire. So you can see, like, these ones have very little current running through them, whereas these ones have a lot of current running through them. The Blutricity is coded very well. It's very realistic in terms of power. And so you have both the volts and the amps that are current, and some more currents going through here, as you can see, because all the power is coming from all of them through there, and then less through here, and, like, virtually none is going through there, because it's a longer route. Right, and that's, you can see that this is actually starting to run out of power, because 3 solar power panels actually produce very little power. So that's your blue electric furnace, your voltmeter. There's also your blue electric batteries. Blue electric batteries basically are batteries. That's what they do. And you can use them to take power and move it between places. So for example, here are 2 battery boxes. This battery box is fully charged. You can see at the side, actually, the texture tells you how charged it is. This one's not charged, because that's not lit up. This one is charged, and it is lit up. And so this one has power, fully charged, and you can actually take that power into a Blutricity battery, like that, fully charged up, and now it'll start charging this battery again. And you can move that then to here, and it'll charge this guy up. Isn't that nice? Isn't that pleasant? That's very pleasant. Yes, it is. So that's how your Blutricity works. You can see we've just transferred some power here to here. You could also power this, for example, with... Well, actually, you wouldn't be able to power this with a blue electric battery. You'd need to have, like, a battery box next to it that you power up with a blue electric battery. Anyways, that's your Blutricity, basically Blutricity. Let's go ahead and hop on down here. Here's another thing that's useful for some of the other things that I'll be showing you. It's a redstone tube. It's basically the pneumatic tubes that we showcased last tutorial, except it can carry a redstone charge as well. So not only will it hold items, it can also carry redstone charge, which is a very awesome little way to keep your circuits nice and compact, because you don't need to run 2 currents. Right. Here we have a buffer. This is a buffer. Basically, what it acts like is a kind of output control mechanism. So you can see that there are 5 different inputs, and each one is a different column. And actually, each side will input, and the top and the bottom, will input to a different one of these columns. So if, for instance, we use the filter there, it now adds wood to this thing, which is great, and it'll keep adding wood to that side. And if it fills up on that side, and we try to send some more wood over, it won't work. This is no longer valid inventory from this side, which is nice. Also, if we, for example, lock up that side, and then try to send it something that won't fit in there, nothing doing. And if we try and then if we remove this, for example, and make an available slot, that buffer will empty, and it'll send the thing over. And just the same over here, it'll be nice, send everything to the right columns there, as seen, and then you can pull them out from the front. This is the output slot, as per usual. Now over here, we have a retriever. A retriever is basically a filter except remote. It's a remote filter. So here, for instance, it's actually as if the filter was over here, and it can pull things from here over this way, which is super duper awesome. It requires some Blutricity to function. You could probably run it off one solar panel. It's very low charge, but I've gone ahead and overkilled it here. And you can see it's got more than enough power. So your retriever, it basically will retrieve items from the nearest inventory connected to the tube network on the input side, which is this side. And then it'll act like a filter, and it can then send things to this inventory, which is nice. So if we go ahead and do this, it'll summon, as suggested here, one piece of wood. And if we tried, we could say put a sandstone here, and it'll first summon a piece of wood, and now it's moved to that slot, and it'll try to summon sandstone, and it won't be able to, because it's got two different modes. There's one mode, this mode, the first mode, where it has a slot, and it'll try to retrieve things in that slot, and then it'll move to the next slot. And if you can't do that, it'll be stuck. It won't do anything, ever. Or there's two modes, which is just it'll retrieve whatever it can from any of the slots, anytime, like that. So the sandstone in there won't mess with things. Now, you can also set it up so it'll color code the things that come out of it, which is another thing we'll be getting to later. And it always is nice, and it outputs to this to the chest right behind it, or to any other kind of inventory. So that's your retriever, basically a remote filter. Right, here we have paint. Paint is useful because, as you've seen here, you can color code different items, and you'll see more of that here. And in order to color code tubes, you need to use paint. So basically, you craft yourself some paint cans, which you make with tin plates, which you make in an alloy furnace. And then you can craft yourself some paint brushes with a stick and some wool. And then you can fill up a paint can with paint by using some flax seeds in the correct color, and then dip the brush in the paint, and then you can use that brush to paint just by right-clicking on pneumatic tubes or redstone tubes, and paint them certain colors. And then they will only accept that color thing. So, for instance, only red things will go through there, only red colored things will go through there, white that way, and blue that way, which is super awesome. So here we have a sorting machine. Sorting machine, very complex, is powered by Blutricity. It also doesn't need that much. And there are a few different modes. The basic mode, the first mode, it'll send from the first column. And you can see we've set the first column so it packages red colors. And then it'll just send them out into the network and sort them over to the red chest, as you saw there. And then it'll go on to the next thing, and send out a white thing. So this is what's the any stack sequential mode here. And basically, it'll take anything it can according to the thing in the column. So you see there, it just took a jungle wood, and it'll take a birch wood, and then it'll take an oak wood or whatever, and then it'll take a regular wood or a jungle wood, as here, either one, doesn't matter. And it'll take anything it can satisfy from that column, and then move on to the next occupied column. And if we tried to have it pull something that wasn't in this chest only contains wood, it'll just get stuck, and it'll be done. It'll be done for there. So, that's your sorting machine in mode number 1. Mode number 2 is what's called all-stack sequential, which will take everything it can in the column. So, same functionality there, but now here, it'll go ahead and actually take, let's see here, both, that were in here. It'll take both the things in that stack, which is a slight change, but it's different. Next mode is the random all-stack, which will just satisfy all the items in any column. And you can see here, it's going to be doing it in, it's going to be taking from the first one, as you can see. Nice. Super easy. It's just like, okay, we can satisfy this column, and so we'll send it out. The next mode will just try to satisfy any item at all, starting at the top left. So you can see here, it's just going to be pulling out the top left thing there. If we made the top left here, it'll instead start pulling out those. And it'll just sort whatever it can according to the top left of its input inventory. And the last mode is basically that, except it provides a default color. So like we could color code things that are things yellow that aren't included in that thing. So for instance, we could put some wool there, and it'll try to pull out wool. And since there's no color code for wool, it'll color code them yellow. Of course, now there's no valid yellow inventory, so it won't pull them out. But that's how it would work. If we do set this up so like, let's see, blue, then it'll pull out some, it should be pulling out, oh, why? Oh, I guess it'll pull out the valid things first, but if it had no more valid things, that's how it would work. Anyways, that's your sorting machine. Very awesome. Very super duper awesome. Quick detour here, gem blocks. As you saw earlier, RedPower adds a bunch of different types of gems. We examined that a little bit over in the last episode, like with microblocks. And the RedPower gems, you can actually, just like any diamond or gold, you can store their wealth by just putting 9 of them in a crafting table, and you can make a block of them. Now over here, we have the Thermopile, or Thermopyle, I don't even know, I'm just going to set time to day. Now the nice thing about these is that they generate power, regardless of whether it's day or night. How do they generate power, you ask? Well, it's based on the heat differential from 2 different sides. So for example, on this Thermopile, we have lava on one side, and water on the other side. And so there's a heat differential there. You could also do like lava and ice, stuff like that. And you'll see it's very slowly powering this battery box. Even in all this time, it still hasn't charged this up fully. Super duper slow in terms of charge. And it works if they're on top, above, whatever. This one's also being charged. And it outputs on the blue side, as you can see. So it'll output on that side, or on that side. And then it can actually hold the heat differential from any of the 2 other sides. Super duper awesome. Good way to, if you've got like underground stuff and you can't access the sun, a network of thermopiles might be your best way to generate Blutricity. Right. Here I'm going to show you restriction tubes. So here, as you know, pneumatic tubes always like to send the closest path towards the closest valid inventory. So here you'd think that would be, alright, we'll send the item this way, this way. No, that's not how this will work, because this is a restriction tube. A restriction tube basically acts like 5,000, and I'm not exaggerating here, 5,000 tubes. It'll say, I'm 5,000 tubes long. And so that'll make instead this route the fastest route. And you can see here that using this filter, it'll actually take the whole long way this way in order to send the stuff. Now, if for instance you break that route, it'll of course take the restriction path, and it won't go any slower or anything through there, but it's a way that you can make like a last resort. Like, if no other valid options are available, go through the restriction tube way. Is basically the way that restriction tubes work. Very awesome. Now, the exact opposite of restriction tubes are mag tubes. These are mag tubes. You can craft them. They basically allow things to go super duper ridiculously fast through them. They're basically gold. Like, if you're familiar with Buildcraft, they're basically powered gold pipes. However, in order to actually accelerate and decelerate, in order to use a mag tube network, you need to have accelerators powered by Blutricity. And so, you also need one to decelerate them, otherwise the whole thing won't work. You pull out your item, it's going meandering along, gets into the accelerator, and pew! Pew! You can see it's just ridiculously fast, and decelerates back out, and into the chest. Very awesome. Now, here's a brief little demonstration of the project table. Project table's super awesome. It has an integrated inventory of 18 slots. You can craft things, and it'll keep the crafting recipe in there. So we can just create a bunch of sticks, and it'll keep that recipe in there. Very, very awesome. However, a lot of you have been wondering if there's any way that you can actually pull out the final product. I'm going to show you here that you can't. You can pull out the sticks because there are sticks in the inventory, but if you actually try to pull out sticks and there's no sticks in the inventory, it won't auto-craft them for you. And if you try to use Buildcraft, which is not added by RedPower, this is a different mod entirely, both these 3 items and this item are all Buildcraft. If you try to use Buildcraft to pull things out using wooden tubes, it'll just pull out the planks. It won't be able to pull out the stick, regardless of which side you pull it from. So, it's not an automated crafting table, but it's pretty close. It's like a semi-automated crafting table. So that's your project table. Very awesome little thing to have. Your Bluelectric alloy furnace, basically a regular alloy furnace, except powered by Blutricity. Very awesome. And it's also twice as fast. Here we have an igniter. An igniter is basically a deployer that's always using flint and steel. Click on, and it'll set fire. Click off, and it'll close the fire. Like that. You can see it just puts the fire on, puts the fire off. Very easy little game. It's called the igniter. And it is an awesome little tool for automated griefing. Over here, we have the regulator. Now, the regulator is complicated. It's the last item of today's tutorial, so if you're about to be confused, you can go ahead and stop watching now if you're never going to use this. It's basically a super duper versatile, it's kind of like a retriever slash filter slash awesome, is how I would describe it. So let me go ahead and open up this and show you what it does. There are 3 different inventories. This side is your input side on the left. Whatever you have in this inventory will determine the kind and the amount of items that the middle will accept from a tube that's connected to this side. Okay? So, for example, we have birchwood in here, and that'll say, okay, we'll accept birch into the middle inventory, provided that it's coming from this side. Super awesome. The internal buffer, that's the middle, is where items are stored, and they'll be ejected on the output, in the output side, which is this way. This is the output chest. When they exactly match the input inventory. So, like, if we had birch and sandstone, it'll hold birch and sandstone in the middle until it receives both birch and sandstone. So if it just gets a stack of birch, it'll just hold that in the middle until it also gets a sandstone, and then it'll eject both. And items supplied on the sides of the block, any of the block's sides, will also enter the center inventory. So any of these sides are input sides, and we'll put things into the middle inventory. The output side on the right is basically a little way of saying, I will only output if the output inventory has less items than specified here. So if we put 5 birch here, it'd only fill this thing up to 5 birch, which is pretty cool. So that's what the output side on the right does. They're all kind of, yeah, like they're optional. You could use this just as a much more dumbed down machine, but you can also create some very awesome stuff if you use those. It is, however, super duper complicated, so if you don't want to, I completely understand. I don't look down at you for not using these. Now, there are actually 2 modes of output. There's synchronous output, which will only eject items to the output side if the middle matches the left exactly. Or there's asynchronous output, which is as long as it doesn't care about the ratio. So if we put sandstone and birch here, it would still output birch. Only in mode 1 does it care that you need to have both before it outputs anything. And then it synchronizes your outputs, and you can kind of see there in the picture, that's what it looks like it's doing. It also will emit a redstone pulse whenever it outputs, or if it's holding items in the buffer. So basically, whenever there's an item in the buffer, it'll emit redstone. So let's go ahead and show you the basic use. Here, you can see I'm playing a sound to a note block whenever the birch goes through. Very easy. Now, what if we want to set it up so that it only fills the thing up to 5? Okay, we can do that. So let's go ahead and just stick 5 birch wood here. Okay, 3, sure. 4, sure. 5. Oh no! But this one already has 5. Oh no! So now it'll continue to output this redstone signal, and if we try and send it more birch to the buffer, it just stores it in its internal buffer, and now it will no longer accept anything because it's no longer a valid inventory, because the only things that are accepted in the buffer are what matches this side. And so you can see here that it's only accepting this because it matches here. Now, if we had a stack of 2 here, it would accept another wood, for example. So, that is your regulator. Super duper complicated. You might want to look that one up yourself if you're having trouble understanding my explanation of it. I tried hard, but that it is a very complicated thing. Right, next tutorial, we're going to be looking at a bit of RedPower computing, which is super duper awesome, and is also something that you will be definitely interested in, because it's basically computer craft, except done differently, which is super awesome. Right, so this world will be available for download in the description below, hopefully within a few days of me uploading the video. My name has been Dratnos. If you found this useful, or if you just enjoyed it in any way, I'd appreciate it if you could like, favorite, comment, subscribe. All those buttons actually help me a great deal. I'd also appreciate it if you could leave a comment if I've been wrong, and check the last episode because there have been some awesome corrections, and I'm sure that I've made more mistakes here, because I am by no means an expert. I'm just trying to show you guys how stuff works. Right. Thank you everybody for watching. My name has been Dratnos. Goodbye.